Welcome back to the game where we are getting hunted down by the one and only Mr. Banebush. We made it to chapter 2, so I guess it'll be like a chapter per. I don't know. Depends on how I'm feeling about this game, but it was a very nice first chapter. It was just a lot of reading, and my reading comprehension skills are bad. Just learned to read the other day. This ancient mattress feels like it was specifically designed to destroy my back. As usual, I woke up drenched in cold sweat thanks to another stress-induced nightmare. Last we left off, I don't know, everything's all red, more red than it was, I feel like. But we were being hunted down by a drug man that we got our drugs stolen. And yet, we're in trouble because, I don't know. But well, no comfort, but I'm alive. Fair trade, I guess. Outside the window, it was a gray and overcast day. Looks very red. Yeah, it doesn't look anything good will happen today, but I'm used to that. Good stretches, good stretches. Yep, stretch the other side as well. There you go, champ. Yeah. Nice, nice. After stretching a bit, I decided to take a walk around this godforsaken village. I kept thinking about the local store. Hopefully it hasn't closed yet, otherwise I'd have to rely on my childhood survival skills and go stealing apples from abandoned lots. How simple and carefree it would be to walk around looking for dubious food, if not for my current less than legal affairs. But who am I without them? I need to stock up on food for a couple of days and see what's going on around here. Maybe I'll run into some locals, get the news, and find out how life has changed in this corner of the world since I was last here. Do some more stretches. No? Just stand and walk outside. The early morning in this backwater is wrapped in an eerie calm, as if something here is already dead, not just asleep. The air is fresh, as if it was washed with a fabric softener and cold. It cuts straight to the bone, because it is Russia, so it's like, ugh. For July 6th, it was cold without a jacket. Still, there was something about this morning's scenery that momentarily brought back a taste of life. It felt like I was 12 again. I remembered how as kids we'd run around here from early morning, darting between houses with the neighbor boy under the grumbling shouts of old folks and barking of dogs from other yards. Cold air kinda, if you're not feeling it, but then you're breathing it, it's nice. The air filled my lungs and my head spun slightly from its freshness. Yeah, because how fresh it is. The scent of grass and damp earth surrounded me. It felt pleasant. It was unusual to breathe so easily. Not as usual with the city dust and grime. Walking through the quiet village, I seemed to slow down myself, adapting to its rhythm, its leisurely pace of life. The silence and calm around me unintentionally made me reflect on the past and ponder the future. ... I looked around at the empty windows and peeling walls. People used to live here, but now everything is crumbling, as if mocking my memories. Now there was only decay and an oppressive sense that the past was irretrievably gone. I was almost at the store when my gaze caught on a house to the left. Once a sweet old lady lived there, a darling granny. She always sat by her house offering us apples if we could show her where the Big Dipper was in the sky. Of course, we didn't know where the Big Dipper was and just pointed randomly at the sky. Granny didn't seem to care. She gave us apples anyways, chuckling to herself. Now, her house was already leaning and completely overgrown with bushes, but the apple tree behind the house was still standing. Maybe I should pick a couple of apples for breakfast. At least I'd save some money. My stomach was already growling with hunger. It was time to decide where to get food today. To the right was the store where I figured I could grab a bite, assuming there was anything left inside. To the left was an abandoned lot with a crooked fence behind which the apple tree still stood. I stopped pondering where to go. I see. Apple tree or shop? The shop's definitely run down. I feel like the apple tree. You can go to the apple tree, and then if there's no apples, you can still go to the shop. I mean, apple trees don't really need people to care for them to grow apples, so it's probably fine. The plot of land looked abandoned up close, windows covered in murky stains, trash scattered in places, and the garden overgrown with dense thickets. It seemed no one had set foot there for years. Right in front of the fence stood an apple tree, probably the same one that the funny old lady used to pick apples for us. Despite the overall neglect of the plot, the tree looked beautiful and lush. Exactly. Some branches even had something growing on them already. Yummy. I stepped closer, treading carefully on the ground, glancing around furtively. The crooked fence with its rotten boards seemed to plead, "Don't touch me," but I wasn't planning to stop. I did a front flip over the fence, grabbed an apple. On one of the upper branches, I spotted an apple, seemingly almost ripe, yellow with a slight red blush. It's pretty high. Hope I don't fall. But since I'm already here, there's no turning back. Climb? Why not? No other choices to do. I placed my foot on the edge of the fence and leaned on a board, which immediately creaked nastily, but still held for now. Why didn't you just climb up the actual tree? The sturdy tree. Grab that apple. Yeah. I reached out to the tree, my fingers almost brushing the coveted apple. The fence beneath me creaked. One board started to wobble just a little more. Just a little more. Pluck. Snagged it. Click, click. Oh, I see. Don't worry, my clicking skills. My clicking prowess. Yeah. That still fell. Ow. Oh. Sounds painful. Oh, hey. Who are you? Dude, that's my grandmother. Am I dying? I'm dead. Oh, hi. She got closer. ... The first thing I felt upon regaining consciousness was the worn springs of an old couch digging into my spine. Oh, my head throbbed and my whole body ached, reminding me of the fall from that damned rotten fence. Where am I? The obvious question popped into my head. There's no way the old lady was still alive, right? Because if she was old back then, she'd be old now. Calendar with an icon. An old calendar with an icon on the wall, darkened by time and lovingly framed with fabric. The Virgin Mary gazes sternly like a grandmother who always knows when you've done something wrong. Her gaze stirs unease in your soul, as if you're already guilty of something, even though you've done nothing yet. The chair! Sure, someone's probably watching me as I was sleeping. I could hear it. An old wooden chair, just looking at it, I could already hear it creaking plaintively. It stands across from the bed as if someone had just been sitting there, leisurely sipping a cup of tea and watching me while I was unconscious. Oh, there's also a creepy doll. Great. A doll on the cupboard stares into your soul with glassy eyes. Its hair is tangled and its dress has faded. Any other doll would look like an innocent toy, but this one, it's as if it's watching. Well, it's staring over this way. It doesn't really, in my opinion, I guess. I don't know. It's Alexi, the character. I cautiously surveyed the room. The room was shrouded in semi-darkness with a sharp, sour scent lingering in the air. Suddenly, the door on the right creaked open with a prolonged groan. Hello, old lady. A short old woman, a proper granny type, sat down in the chair next to me. She stared directly at me, cautiously, as if trying to peer into my soul. So you woken up, you loafer? Yikes. She muttered under her breath with a hint of satisfaction. Rude. I thought I'd have to call an ambulance from the city. Where did you drop in from? From the apple tree, I almost said aloud. Obviously, I couldn't stay silent since I had been trying to steal her from her garden, and now I was sitting in her house. But telling her I was hiding from criminals would be dumb. She might call the cops on me. I could just say I came to my grandmother's house. Or lie and say I'm looking to buy a house here. That's an option. Why don't you just come to your grandmother's house? Well, I choked, unable to even finish the first two words. Swelling hard, I tried to continue. Well, I came to my grandmother's house. Margarita Pavlovna. Have you heard of her? I haven't heard that name in many years. Well, I'll be. She exclaimed, bouncing slightly in her chair. Lyoshenka, is that you? Just the other day you were running around the village as a kid, and now look at you, grown as tall as a tree. Do you still remember Granny Nura? I silently nodded in response, trying to pass as one of the locals, forcing a smile to mask my growing tension. How did she even remember me? It's been so many years. So what brought you into my garden? I wanted to make an excuse, but all I could think of was something about apples. I saw an apple. I thought I'd pluck it and eat it. I replied in a hoarse voice, still trying to pull myself together. Well, sneaking around in other people's gardens, huh? Look at you, all obsessed with apples. Rita would have given you a good scolding for that. Just last week, she promised to bake me some pies. Said she'd visit, but something must have come up. You schizophrenic? Pies? What pies? My grandma passed away a long time ago. I swallowed hard, tried to convince myself the old lady was just confused, but she sounded so certain, as if there wasn't a shred of doubt in her words. To her, Rita was definitely alive. Maybe just in senilityness, or something more serious. She wanted to have tea with me and tell stories, just like she always does. You know, I just ran into her recently at the store. You're Rita. She was standing there waving at me, but I didn't go to her. She seemed odd. Not like she used to be. A chill ran down my spine. The old woman looked at me as if she had really seen my grandmother alive recently. At the store? I stammered, repeating her words, feeling a sharp pang in my chest. Yes, a stepping store. Where else? She confirmed with a nod, then suddenly her eyes lit up as if she'd remembered something important. Oh, hello. Hi. How's it going? Listen, Lyoshenka. Granny Nira leaned toward me with a loud exclamation, making me flinch and step back. Not noticing my tension, she continued. I still have that book of hers. I kept meaning to return it to her. Return it, but never got around to it. Then just give it back, sweetheart, please. Give it to Rita for me. While I struggled to think of how to respond, she had already stood up and started rummaging through an old bookcase. Granny Nira pulled out a small, worn book. She walked over and handed it to me with her trembling, bony hands. Why is her... When she talks, her whole face changes. It's kind of... You a skinwalker? You a skinwalker, ma'am? Here, Lyoshenka, pass it on. Tales of Monsters. Interesting. Very interesting. Crook Hag. I took the book in my hands and felt time stand still. I recognized it immediately as my grandmother's collection of fairy tales with the yellowed pages and a worn cover. Grandma used to read it to me often when I was a child. The Crook Hag, a tale about a terrifying swamp hag who lured travelers into the rotting bog, disguising herself as a frail old woman with a gaunt face and dull, tearful eyes. She sat at the edge of the path, groaning and sighing, whispering in a raspy voice, "Help me, my dear boys, help me." And the moment some kind soul reached out to her, the old woman's visage would crumble before their eyes, dry skin cracked and peeled away in strips, revealing the face of a monster. A twisted grin, rotting teeth, and sharp, beastly claws. I remember how Grandma would tell me the story in her deep, raspy voice, as if the Crook Hag herself was lurking in her breath. The Watchone? There was also a story about the Watchone, a freak with a single crimson eye in the middle of his forehead. Grandma described how he would leap out of the forest. As twilight fell, the branches cracked. The Liko came. It's shadow-backed. I still remember, I chuckled. There was something about how the Watchone attacked people. Flesh torn to shreds, blood spattered everywhere. You know, the usual gruesome stuff. Just classic stuff. Yeah, no. Grandma knew how to captivate me with another creepy tale, her favorite listener, ensuring I'd have psychological scars. Yeah, these stories were definitely her style. They didn't have much moral or deep meaning. They were just good old-fashioned creepypastas. Turning a few more pages, I froze. Banebush. This was my favorite story. Maybe because of that childhood incident in the forest, it felt the scariest, the most poignant to me. I closed my eyes, completely consumed by the memory. Uh-oh. It was a long time ago, in a forest far, far away. So long ago that neither you nor I were even a thought yet. But back then, as now, the forest surrounded our village on all sides. So dark and dense that the branches of its trees formed an impenetrable wall. Light barely penetrated, and the canopies rose so high the sunlight couldn't filter through the leaves. This forest was no ordinary one. They said the ancient powers lived there, feared and respected by both people and beasts. Villagers ventured cautiously into the thicket for mushrooms, berries, or firewood, always returning before nightfall. And children were warned not to wander into the forest alone and to run straight home if anything happened. At night, if you listened closely, you could hear rustles and faint whispers, as if the forest itself was warning those who ventured too close. And in the very heart of the forest lived the Leshy. Stories say that the master of our forest was always stern, strict, and powerful. He knew every path, every blade of grass, every creature hiding in the dense thickets. He watched over the entire forest through the eyes of the birds. He didn't like that raven on the old scarecrow. He did not tolerate uninvited guests, and those who dared disturb his peace rarely returned, but the Leshy had someone dear to him. Oh yes, he wasn't always alone. Oh, he had a granddaughter, Vixie. Oh, and what a sly and swift little fox she was. People said that little one melted the Leshy's heart, and from then on the forest became brighter and friendlier under her care. In the form of a fox, she could run through the forest, but when she wished, she could turn into a little girl shedding her fox guise. She grew up under the Leshy's wing, cheerful and lively. She loved the forest, knew all its secret paths like her grandfather, could talk to birds and play with hares. But you know, dear, Vixie was drawn to the village. Even though she grew up in the forest from infancy, her origins were, no matter how you looked at it, human. As soon as she grew a little older, she started begging the Leshy to let her go play with the village children. The Leshy, though strict, gave in eventually. How could he resist his beloved granddaughter? He was reluctant for a long time, but he loved her so much that he eventually agreed and only sternly commanded, "Be back before sunset." You see, Vixie, though she turned into a girl, would become a fox again as soon as the sun set. So she would run to the village from the forest, introducing herself as a neighbor from another settlement. The boys and girls welcomed her joyfully. She ran around, played with them, and brought mushrooms and berries from the forest to share with everyone. Vixie charmed everyone. Oh, how lively and cheerful she always was. The boys completely lost their heads. They all fell in love with her. They even gave her a polka dot scarf. No gift was more precious to her. She treasured it, kept it as if it were her most valuable possession. I feel like I know someone with a polka dot scarf. I may be in their house right now. Or is she the crook hag? But one day, after an especially joyful day, Vixie was heading home when suddenly, like a blow to the head, she stopped at the edge of the forest wanting to adjust her scarf, but it was gone. Her hands trembling, she searched herself, but she couldn't find it. The girl panicked, tears streaming down her face. What a disaster! Without thinking, she ran back to the village, but the sun was already sinking, about to disappear below the horizon. The boys helped her look for the scarf, but it was too late. They found it, but the sun had almost set. Long shadows stretched their claws to the ground, heralding trouble. Vixie darted toward the forest back to the Leshy's home, but the boys grabbed her by the hand. Don't go, Vixie. At night, evil spirits roam the forest. They'll drag you away, and you'll be lost. She didn't make it back to the forest before sunset. Uh-oh. Right before the children's eyes, she turned into a fox. Vixie tried to explain herself to them, but people don't understand the language of foxes. The children were terrified, thinking some forest spirit was tricking them, and fear, Lyoshenka, makes the imagination run wild. Oh no! One of them picked up a stone first, and the others followed. They struck her, not realizing what they were doing, their eyes wide like frightened rabbits. The Leshy stood at the edge of the forest as usual, listening to the whispers of the night, when suddenly everything fell silent. Nature itself held its breath. He immediately knew something was wrong. His granddaughter's never been gone this long. Worry slithered into his heart like a snake, squeezing it with cold coils. He searched for a long time, inspecting every bush, every path, his heart aching more and more with each moment of foreboding. And then, oh, what sorrow! At the edge of the forest beneath a tree lay Vixie in her fox form, beaten to death. Beside her lay a blood-stained scarf, the very one the boys had given to her. The Leshy slowly knelt, looking at her, and a fire of rage ignited in his chest. Understandable. Very understandable. His heart hardened in an instant and his body sprouted red branches and roots. In his rage and grief, the Leshy killed everyone who crossed his path. The earth throughout the region was soaked with blood that day, and he retreated to the heart of the forest, hiding among the trees. After that night, the villagers began calling the Leshy Banebush, because no creature more terrifying could be found. You have read the tale about the Banebush. What do you know? Brushing away the haze of memories, I snapped the book shut. The story, though my favorite, always left a heavy feeling. Oh, never mind. You don't have a scarf. You're fine, old lady. Skinwalker. Yes, Granny Nira. I'll make sure to pass it on. Oh, let me pack some apples for you to take with you, she muttered in her creaky voice. Granny Nira moved to the next room with surprising agility for her age. Almost as if she was a skinwalker. I quietly made my way to the exit, hoping to avoid any attempts to prolong the conversation. Here you go, Lyoshenka, and send my regards to Rita. Tell her to visit more often. But first, dear, show me where our... Granny Nira paused, looking as if she had forgotten the right words. Point to the... Oh, I see. I immediately realized what she wanted to hear. The Big Dipper's over there, Granny Nira, I said confidently, randomly pointing my finger at the sky. You made Grandma Nira smile. Granny Nira handed me the bag of apples, stretching her wrinkled lips into a toothless smile. Yeah, thank you. I awkwardly thanked her for the treat and quickly left her house. Nice. What was that all about? Granny Nira clearly has memory issues. It's amazing that she recognized me despite all that. Looking at the bag of apples in my hand, I remembered falling off the rotten fence, and a question suddenly arose. How did the old lady even drag me to the bed? Yeah, well, as I approached my new home, I was already anticipating flopping onto the creaky prehistoric bed with a contented look on my face, but it seemed fate had other plans. Uh-oh. In front of my house stood an old Lada 2108, and I could make out the three familiar faces inside. Shit. It was Pasha Foman and his goons, Vazia and the third one. I can't remember his name. They see me? They're like, they find me? Oh, well, hello there, villager. Hey. I replied, trying to hide my tension. I'm so screwed. So, what the hell are you doing here, Alyosha? You know, how much of a hassle it was to drag ourselves out to this backwater? How the hell did you even find me? Shut your fucking mouth and listen. If you'd worked longer, and honestly, maybe you'd have thought to shove your work SIM card somewhere safe. Interesting. And didn't use it near the house registered to you. That is pretty stupid. Well, so we promote you and send you on a big job, and this is how you thank us, running off with our stuff? You know exactly what happens to smartasses like that. Foma, I had nothing to do with this. While I was transporting the stuff, some guys cut me off in a car and robbed me at gunpoint. Took all your stuff. Shit. What the fuck? You seriously think I'm that stupid? Foma, I've always done my job honestly. This looks like a setup to me. Maybe you sent those bastards yourself and now you're trying to screw me over. Are you fucking kidding me? Who are you questioning right now? You think it's hard for me to kill you and bury you in this backwater? No one's ever gonna find you here, you dumbass. I'm not trying to act tough, Foman. Calm down. How am I supposed to get you this stuff I don't have? I don't give a damn, you bitch. He's got a little cursing problem. Do whatever you want, give birth or shit it out. The situation was escalating. I clenched my jaw, feeling my racing pulse pounding in my temples. We got that knife. I have a knife. I'll just stab him. I felt a boiling rage building inside of me. My hand, instinctively reached for the hilt of the old knife. It wasn't sharp though. I have a knife. Don't come closer, bitch! Exclamation point! Oint oint. Are you fucking kidding me? Ow! Fist to the face! A sudden punch to my nose. Something. The knife didn't help. Well, you gotta. It says fight back. It doesn't say threaten him. I thought he was just gonna like whip out the knife and stab him. You know, a sudden punch to my nose. Somebody sprawling to the ground. Vazia, grab his knife before he hurts someone. Make sure the goods are with me by morning. If you bail, I'll kill you. Got it, you bitch? Ya bitch. Alright, well. The sound of a departing car's engine started the countdown. Tough stuff. Wonder why he doesn't give my person a face. Bastards. Great hiding spot, Alyosha. I sarcastically praised myself. It was if you didn't have the phone. Now what? What if I sell the house and use the money to buy drugs and replace the lost shipment? No, selling the house is a hassle. Finding a buyer would take forever, and at best, I'd get 100 grand out of it. Running isn't an option. They'll find me again, and then I'm really screwed. Shit, what the fuck do I do now? In despair, I grabbed my head. I wanted to tear out my hair, scream, break something, but none of that would help. The helplessness was driving me insane. If the world turns its back on you, go to the forest. There you'll find either salvation or death. The forest is honest. I suddenly remembered my grandmother's words as clearly as if her voice were speaking right next to me. What if Grandma was right? What if there's really something out there? I saw it in that forest that night as a kid, I remember. If Banebush is really there, he could either kill me outright or help me. If I'm screwed anyway, what difference does it make? I looked out the window. The forest is honest, I kept repeating myself, staring at the dark grove. Going there was madness, yet... Yes, but at least I'd have some kind of chance. There's no other way. There's no other way. Is it a backpack? Yeah, it is. A few minutes into the journey, and the trees closed in around me as if blocking my path. Stepping forward was terrifying, but staying still was even worse. To the forest! You've completed the second chapter. Well, then that means that's all the time I have for today. So if you made it this far, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.